being organized after the triumphant success of the first edition last year. This Education Summit is a one-of-a-kind discussion forum that brings together leaders, policymakers, educators, and industry experts to drive conversations around the progress in India's education sector, the technological advancements in the sector, globalization of India's higher education, and the importance of skill development at an early age, among many other topics that are lined up for today. My name is Rini Simon Khanna, and I'm happy to host this unique summit on education. Welcome once again, and do settle down. Also to remind you to please keep your mobile phones in the silent mode. We have 4 sessions today, and our moderators will have engaging conversations with our guests in each of those sessions, and we'll try to keep it as interactive as possible, keeping the limited time that we have in mind. The Hindustan Times Education Summit reimagines an India-centric education system, catalyzing the nation's transformative journey in the realms of education and technology, and empowers India's future, uniting our visionaries, our policymakers, our educators, and of course our industry leaders. Our theme this year is Policy Paradigm, charting the course for education reform in India, and represents our dedication to examining and reshaping education policies in India to drive meaningful and transformative changes. Over the next 4 sessions, we will delve into key areas such as inclusive education, curriculum and pedagogy, teacher development and support, technology integration and assessment, and of course, evaluation. Through these in-depth discussions and our experts sharing their experiences, we aim to collectively chart a progressive path for education reform in India, ensuring equal access, quality learning, and holistic development for all our learners. I'd like to now invite Ms. Fariha Iftikhar, the principal correspondent with the National Political Bureau of Hindustan Times, closely tracking the implementation of the new national education policy. And of course, she's known for her coverage of issues related to gender and human rights. So please put your hands together to welcome Fariha Iftikhar, and I request her to please give the introductory remark.
Good afternoon everyone, and welcome to the 2nd edition of Hindustan Times Education Summit. This year we have returned the theme, Charting the Course for Education Reforms in India. And according to me, and everyone here will agree with me, this is a very relevant theme at a time when India's education system is undergoing a major overhaul with the introduction of a new national education policy, NEP 2020. From schools to universities, ITIs to tech institutions, we have witnessed numerous changes over the last 3 years under NEP implementation. Be it the introduction of the 4-year undergraduate programs with multiple entry and exit points to provide more flexibility to students, or switching to the common entrance exam for university admissions. We have seen NEP taking shape, we can say concrete shape now on the ground. NEP has also opened global doors for top education institutions of India. So very soon we are going to have our top 2 IITs opening their international campuses, and this is going to be the first time we are having our top education institutions having global campuses. Besides, some top foreign institutions are also coming and setting up their campuses in the GIFT city in Gujarat. Last week, as you all know, the government has also released the National Curriculum Framework that will completely change the way our schools have been functioning so far. It will not only introduce new textbooks to our schools, but will also completely overhaul the teaching learning methods and the evaluation policies. The framework will also change the way the board exams are being conducted in the country as of now. It has also proposed some revolutionary changes in the school system, such as semester system and multidisciplinary education, something which has not been implemented at school level as of now. we at the Hindustan Times are critically covering and documenting these changes happening and implementing on ground. As India aims to become the third largest economy in the world, its education system will be one of the key prime movers. The transformation at different levels in India's education system will ensure that the country would become one of the most preferred destinations for education, employment opportunities and investments. However, to achieve that, we need constant discussion and dialogue. And which is why today we have gathered here to have meaningful conversation and share insights to collectively chart out a progressive path for reforms in India's education system. I hope from the discussion we are going to have today, we manage to find solutions to ensure quality access, learning and holistic development for each and every child in the country. And I look forward to many more valuable inputs from the audiences. You all are like the stalwarts and the stakeholders who play key role in education sector in the country. So please come forward, be a part of the change and be a part of the implementation of this change. I once again thank you all for being here. Please have a nice day with us. Thank you.
Well, moving on to our first session that looks at literacy for empowerment, youth, reading and societal change. On our panel, we have Mr. Yuvraj Malik, the Director of the National Book Trust, and together with him, we have Sarah Zia, formerly an education editor at Hindustan Times, now in a consulting role with PhD, and also pursuing her career as a lecturer at the Jindal School of Journalism and Communication, OP Jindal Global University. Both of them will explore the powerful role of youth in driving societal change and empowering them, also uncovering how literature fosters critical thinking and informed citizenship. So may I invite Mr. Yuvraj Malik and Sarah to please come up.
Mr. Malik is an accomplished professional with 20 years of experience in prominent roles in the Ministries of Education, Defense and the Home Affairs as well as the United Nations. He currently serves as the Director of the National Book Trust India, the nodal agency of the government for promotion of books and reading. Mr. Malik is also part of the think tanks working on key projects in the field of education such as creating intellectual heritage, Indian knowledge system, toy-based learning and National Digital Library project. As the Director of the National Book Trust, Mr. Malik ensured the launch of bilingual books within 30 days of the announcement of the National Education Policy 2020. Mr. Malik has led the promotion of books and reading from the front through unique initiatives like India's first ever river-based book exhibitions, setting up of India's first free reading lounge at the Varanasi airport and much more. We are excited and delighted to have you on the panel. Welcome, Mr. Malik. Needs for a younger generation who may not be aware of the legacy that NBT brings to the country.
Thank you so much. First of all, let me congratulate each one of you for being witness to the most historic event in the history of a nation that we have landed on Moon. I'm doing it for two reasons. We must compliment the scientists who have done it. We must compliment the teachers who have groomed those scientists. And we must appreciate the institution who has nurtured those talent. So that is the power of education. Why I'm saying so is very deliberately, I tell you why. No policy, no reforms, no organization can think of growing and achieving its mandate or any society to reach its pinnacle without the power of knowledge, and that is indirectly the power of books. So when we are talking about it, National Book Trust has been founded in 1957 with the promotion of book reading culture. Culture is a very important word. If there is no culture, it's just one odd event and it has a very short shelf life. But the culture itself has a long traditions. Today we have the longest traditions of Veda, which is thousand years. So that is the culture, to preserve knowledge through books. That's what National Book Trust was founded in 1957 for the promotion of book reading and book reading culture. We have been doing this mandate, three fundamental principles. The first is the quality of books. Today, it is not a trust which is on Societies Act, it is a symbol of trust and credibility also. When you say it's NBT book, it has got credibility. Then quality content that is affordable. We have to provide it at a very, very cheap cost, readily available, and then accessibility. We should take it to the people, to the last corner of the country, from Kutch till Arunachal and from Kashmir and Leh Ladakh till Kanyakumari. So that is the kind of mandate we have. More than that, the diversity of the country, which is multilingual. We have almost 22 languages in our schedule. So we have to produce content for every child in this country. If a single child is left out of the domain, that is where our role comes into play. We publish not only in scheduled languages, but also more than 30 tribal languages. That is a kind of power as an institution you have to make some transformation changes. So publishing at quality books, affordable prices, making it accessible, and more than 55 regional and national languages.
More about how do you do these outreach activities and try to cover geographies, and how you also try to be innovative, because we are living in the age of internet where technically nothing is too far away, yet there are still geographies and areas where inroads have to be made. So how do we deal with that?
Yeah, absolutely right. Leh has been quite far off place for the rest of the country, totally disconnected for a long period of time. But we decided to go to Leh Ladakh for two reasons. One, to bring out the cultural dimensions of the place to the entire audience through our digital outreach plans. And more than that, to take books to the people who have not seen it. It is the first time we have published books in Bodhi language, the language of the native people which they speak. If we don't produce content, the language will die, the culture will die. The society will not have the fabric that we really want. So the idea was to take these books and activities to the far off places. When we decided it last 7 years, of course, no event of that scale ever happened. We got a phenomenal response. People came out, people celebrated knowledge, people celebrated art, they celebrated culture, they celebrated their local folklore, they celebrated their dressing sense, their food. The idea was just to connect the country, that like our mandate, एक सूत्र से वो सूत्र क्या है जिसमें हम पूरे समाज को पिरो सकते हैं? That is the power of knowledge. Knowledge is that common binding factor that connects the society, and that is the whole idea we have been working. We have been taking it to, like you spoke about, riverine culture. We started from Gangotri, came till Ganga Sagar, along the river, 200 cities we covered. We carried out sessions, storytelling. We did not speak only about food and culture, we spoke about environment, how important it is. I'm telling you because small things, they look like, but they make an impact. I'll give an example. When Prime Minister Modi made a statement from the Red Fort about Swachh Bharat, people were laughing. The Prime Minister is talking about Swachh Bharat from Red Fort. It is made for a very big thing for international audience. But today, if my child is not throwing garbage from the car when he is driving down, is because he heard it, he saw it, and today, majority of young generation which has grown in this ways is shying to throw away dirt on the street. That is the kind of power small actions have. So this is how we have tried to put the country through fabric of knowledge.
Right. The whole idea of books is to be able to expand the larger idea of reading culture. And as we know that reading culture is not just about books per se, but recognizing the power of the written word, as you pointed out rightly, and also respecting the written word. And that requires us to build an initiative that goes down to the grassroots level. So from a foundational literacy perspective, given that it's also something very critical to the national education policy, what is there in terms of activities and outreach where we can integrate foundational literacy with the idea of the book culture?
Like you give the call of reforms. When we have reforms, we must understand that they should start from the foundation. If you want to make education reforms, you have to be very clear the first reform should happen on the foundation, because that's where the maximum effort is required, the maximum return will come. So these younger, earlier, the Anganwadis, the foundation learning was not part of the flow of the education. They were totally isolated and being groomed in a very isolated manner. Today we have 5334, so there is a flow in the education. We are empowering them from the grassroots. So when we are talking, how do we create that human resource which will become future leaders? We are talking of future-ready generation. How do we do that? Knowledge is just not accumulation of literacy as we call it. Literacy is just reading and writing ability or comprehending the signals and signs. That's not. It's only a small step in the process. It can lead to empowerment, but not the full empowerment that it is capable of doing. We have to understand, it's just a starting point. Literacy is a starting point. Accumulation of knowledge and the complete process is the journey that we have to live. There's no destination in that. And finally, we have the empowerment. In this process, we try to create book which will create not only knowledge but values. India has been Vishwaguru not because we made wonderful structures. Because we created a knowledge system. Because we created a value system. And integration of both of them accumulated with soft skills is what is complete and holistic education is all about. And that's what national education policy is, a complete summary of it. It gives you the freedom. It gives the freedom to explore your talent. Today, you can learn in the language you want to understand. You have freedom to go into mother tongue, regional tongue, whatever language you want. You have 3 language formula, you have 2 language flexibility up to higher education also. So that's the kind of power we have to give. Language should not be the criteria of assessing the ability of a child. It should be only a medium of communication or medium of expression. That's what this education reform, the education policy has broken down. And most importantly, the values of this complete philosophy is Indian and outlook is absolutely international. Combination of both is very, very interactive and it gives you a lot of flexibility as an education leader or academic leader to implement it, how you want to do it. If you want to do capacity building, everyone wants my child should have a high cognitive ability. How do you develop that? Is there any formula to that? Have you given it thought? We talk about cognitive ability. How do you do that? You want to create empathy in a child. How do you do that? You want to create self, how do you do that? You want to give them values. How do you do that? That's where the role of institutions like National Book Trust comes into play. When you give a book to a child to read a story, that role play starts. The child put himself into that shoes and empathy starts. He starts living the journey. The moment you give a value-based education story, he understands the importance of respecting and following a value system. The moment you tell them that you should start visualizing the next step, you start creating cognitive abilities. The process is, it all starts with reading. There are hundreds of surveys, all academic leaders go into it. They should read them. Survey is not for data. It gives an answer to the question which you are having. How do you do that? For example, if you read, first, there are probability that you will be 3 times more philanthropic and you will be at least 3 times more empathy than a normal child. If you read, you will be at least 70% more in a healthy state of mind than a person who is not into reading habits. If you are reading, that you will have at least 30 to 40% less stress and more creativity than a normal child. These are the identified parameters. There are hundreds of surveys. More than that, if you read, there is a probability that you will travel 50% more than a child who is not reading. So you will be someone who will love to travel. More than that, the same person will respect his culture and go to a museum at least 50% more than a normal child. So you are telling me you read book, you go to places, see museum, it will not happen. It will happen when he believes into it. How do you make them believe is a process that we have to think. And that's how the education policy has told us, you innovate your way. That's why innovation is another feature of the policy. Para 4 clearly says, create a book reading culture. Innovate that. Implement it the way you want. That flexibility is with you as principals, teacher. And I will not call you, you are nation builders. You are building the foundation. You will decide how that child will evolve. How much potential you will take out. I keep giving an example of book reading. You ask your child, tell your parents one simple question tomorrow when you go to school. What is the most favorite thing a child likes? Let me tell you, if you initiate 50% of will give that answer, that my child loves most is when before sleeping he listens the story from mother or the father. That is the most favorite thing. That is the power of, and these stories kahan se aayenge? In books se aayenge. That is our job, to give the pedigree. आप मार्केट जाते हैं, कितना कैलोरीज है, कितना न्यूट्रिशन है, कौन सा ऑयल यूज हुआ है, कितना कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स, यू एब्सोल्युटली चेक इट, बट यू चेक विद द बुक, किसने लिखी है, कहाँ से छपी है, क्या ऑडिट हुआ है, हाउ मेनी ऑफ अस डू द साइकोलॉजिकल ऑडिट ऑफ द बुक. दैट्स अ बिग क्वेश्चन. द पेडिग्री व्हिच वी आर फीडिंग टू आवर चिल्ड्रन is something very serious. I am from the publishing industry. As a nodal agency, sorry to say that, half of us don't even bother to audit the books. We just print it, publish it, and we just only discuss the pricing policy, but not the content policy. As teacher, as nation builder, you have to go into those intricacies. That's where National Book Trust sets the benchmark. That's where we come into play. So there are a lot of things which comes with reading and our mandate. We try to do a lot of activities. We do book exhibitions. We do a lot of sessions, grooming, a lot of schools which some of them must be here. They have collaborated with us. The child come to us. We carry out free sessions, free storytelling, free grooming, free publishing. Let a child write. The education process is 3-dimensional. He has to read first, then he has to write, and then he has to speak. This is 10-1-1 formula I keep sharing. Let a child read 10 minutes every day. Let a child write 1 page every day. Let a child speak 1 minute every day. So when he does, then 360-degree loop is complete. Then only a holistic growth is taking place. We are willing. National Book Trust is extending its hand free of cost, no charges, no implications, if you want capacity building, because this policy can only be implemented if people not here, the other side of the chair are sitting, are willing to do the job of capacity building of teachers, parents. You cannot implement this policy just being teacher. You have to involve parents, you have to involve society, you have to involve the government. All stakeholders have a moral responsibility to come up with this reform, because it has come after almost, not after 34 years, after 200 years. After Macaulay, it is the first time we have started thinking with our own eyes and ears. We have to find it. So these are the things which I think we do it.
Great. There's this proverb that goes that if you read 99 books, you will write the 100th one. So it builds on the work that you're saying. You've raised an important point about the diversity in language culture, and for the benefit of our audience, this month internationally we are celebrating the Women in Translation Month, and translation is at an all-time, it's the in thing, it's the buzzword. Gitanjali Shri made India proud by winning the Booker. So, like you pointed out, that the real work happens in the vernacular, and NBT has been very active because English publishing has a range of private players which are more sort of accessible perhaps, or even popular despite the cost. But the real work that NBT is doing, because not enough players exist in the space, is the vernacular space. And I believe you were informed recently while you were chatting before the session began that you organized a massive event to get the vernacular, more writing in the vernacular languages. If you could perhaps share that, especially because Indian languages are now currently in focus both because of NEP and the international gaze. So if you could shed some light on that.
Absolutely. Like you told, we did an experiment 2 years back. We started a scheme, Prime Minister Yuva Yojana, YUVA, young, upcoming, versatile authors. Below 30 years, no qualification required, no certificate required, only thing you should write a book on unsung heroes of India. We selected 75 young authors, not in one, 22 different languages. So that is the beauty of this nation. 16,000 manuscripts, not proposals, manuscripts were received and reviewed in 3 months in 22 languages, and these people underwent 6 months of training. 50,000 rupees scholarship was paid to that child. You will be happy to know there were 39 girls and 36 boys. Half of them were below 21 years, 16 of them below 18 years, as good as 14 years. They are published, now they are getting royalty. I am telling you the background of it. Nobody gave them the platform before that. The moment you give the platform, they come up with their stories of unsung heroes from all parts of the country. Trust me, half of them we were not even aware and read about it. As experts of the industry that publish, we did not hear anything about those. How many of you read about Velu Nachar? No one. She is the Lakshmi Bai of South. That is the beauty of this nation. These people brought those knowledge out. These people brought out those content. And when we published, they could connect it. And then that content, like Subramanya Bharati, he came into other languages. Today he is read in all languages. Tagore has got a word for translation. The power of translation is the ability to take good content from one part of the country to the another and integrate the country through languages. And that is the whole concept of Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat. ये भारत एक है, उसकी भाषाएं अलग हो सकती है, and this is where we stand differently from the entire world. They celebrate unity through uniformity. Let's speak one language. We say we will celebrate through diversity. That is the beauty of this nation. When we say, I was just reading in the morning this one report. When the success in this moon took place, the scientific temperament of the country was, recognized. I got a very message on the same day. India has shown to the world what its people are capable of. That was a scientific victory for the country, that we can do it, make in India. But the bigger thing happened after half an hour and another next day, when the Prime Minister said, the success belongs to the entire humanity. That was the victory of Indian value system. We have to understand this. Knowledge has to come with values itself. That's where these cultural ethos of the country, this diversity, this complete social and cultural fabric gives us strength, and NBT is willing to publish in all languages. And through translation, we connect the country and create that bonding that makes us a country which people think was a Vishwaguru.
No discussion on reading today can happen without acknowledging the fact that the mobile phone is inevitably in every child's hand. At this point, we have all lost the ability to see if the mobile is a friend or an enemy. Whatever it is inevitable. So, in that context, how do we deal with the fact that using more devices is leading to a decline in attention span for students? But at the same time, the mobile is sometimes the only way to access some of that information that may not be available to them otherwise. Have you, as someone who works with books and publishing closely, given this a thought, and would there be something that you would like to share with the teachers and principals about this?
I will just say two things. There is adequate space for books, there is adequate space for gadgets. It is us who has to decide when and what. No technology is bad, it is the user who decides how it will be impact us. As far as content, let me tell you and ask you a very simple question. Two questions. All of you feel and read books. I'm sure those who are sitting here. How do you feel when you finish a book, the kind of empowerment and joy you get it? Am I right? No feeling to express it. You never feel low after finishing a book or reading a book, or before reading a book and you go to sleep. Now tell me, when you pick up a phone, go to those reels, social media, Insta and all, and after 15-20 minutes you'll end up in 1 hour, and kind of guilt you get. The kind of poisonous feeling you have, the kind of trauma you undergo for next 15 minutes. So, we have the answer. Idea is that gadgets are an integral part of life. See, nobody can deny the idea whose time has come. The idea is AI, the idea is gadgets, the idea is technology. So you have to integrate your talent with technology. How many of you think that you can hug your child or give emotions on online or through mobile phone? No, you have to hug your child to give that emotion, to give that feeling, that warmth. How many of you can cry on WebEx? You cannot. How many of you hold the hand of your child and hold it? No, you cannot replace human being. Oppenheimer आया आपने देखा होगा. You can make the strongest bomb on this earth. End of the day, you are a human being and you go back to a book and read it. You want a book. One example I will share, you will not believe it. When Alexander started the campaign, can anybody believe what did he took along? Homer का elite. He used to keep below the पूरे campaign में साथ लेके आए छेलम तक, and he used to keep below the pillow. That is the power of book. That is the power of book. Read what Einstein has said on Gita. They are the strongest brain thinker ever in modern contemporary world. That is the power of books. So I will just say, use technology, use AI, but also add ethical literacy, the civic literacy which is missing. AI is not having any ethics, it's a mechanical process. It is a human being who will be always supreme to decide what is right and wrong. Gadget will not tell it. So that is the power. So let technology come. When we are in some part, let's use books, but let's read more books which are, that give you a feel of a reader.
I will open this for one question from the audience quickly, if there are any questions in the audience. Yes, there's one question at the back, one lucky person who gets to ask.
Big fan of Mr. Malik, you have done great job for NBT, proud of you, keep up the good work. From a grantee organization to today 300 crore profit, you've done fantastic work. I follow up from the question which ma'am was asking you, how are you integrating technology into NBT to reach out to more children, more people?
Thank you so much for the compliment. I think it's a teamwork. That the entire team has been working for the last 3 years since COVID era. There are 3 things which need immediate intervention. Number 1 is that now content cannot be only the print format. That era is over. Printing is very expensive. Books are getting unaffordable, and there's a problem of mobility. So we have to accept that every content which is going to come in the future has dual mode: e-books as well as the print books. That is the one point that we already started. The advanced stage of is audiobooks. Now people love to listen to books, though the reception of audiobooks is half of the reception of the physical books. But still that idea has come because in time of travel and other mechanism you can use it. So we are also coming big way in audiobooks. Then the areas of animation books, that work is also in progress, and very soon, maybe a couple of weeks, you will have a National Digital Library Network coming up, where you can find best of the content, even free of cost, and even you can download. So that initiative is in progress, the work is, architecture is ready. So these are the 3-4 things that we are working. More than that, we are trying to create an interface where our mobile van, which are book on wheel concept, is already, many schools they have gone, people write to us, they email to us, we send our vehicle, we send physical books and interactive books also we are going to send, so they can put board and all, though they will be integrated in the new vehicles which we are developing. So the idea is to give the holistic experience and let the child choose what they want to do, to match up, and hopefully very soon we have already done a lot of exports also now. Indian content is going to be across in various formats. That's how we are in a slow process of transition.
Thank you so much for your response, Mr. Malik, and thank you for that long question.
All principals are here. All my compliments to you. Those who wants to do any capacity building with respect to MBT and its mandate, they are all welcome. 1. 2. They want to send their team, delegations, teachers, faculties, they are again welcome. I did an experiment last month to document the best innovations in pedagogy and best practices in schools. I have got wonderful entries. I will be coming up with a published book so that we can share with all schools, so that the best practice of one school can be replicated into another school, and NBT India will be happy to do and provide that support. It is open for you as a knowledge partner. It is your institution. Doors are 24/7 open. You can just drop a mail. I'm sure those who had experience, they can feel it. We will respond back with the right response in a very quick frame of time. So that's what I wanted to offer to this summit.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and thank you to our audience. It's very validating to see people in the audience nodding their heads. Please continue doing so for the rest of the sessions. Thank you once again. Over to you, Rini.
Talk to him and develop some sort of a relationship with MBT. They've got a lot of things on their deck, as it were, and he's someone who's very, very approachable. So I would advise you to please, for the benefit of the school, for the benefit of the children that you have there in your schools, to please have a conversation with the National Book Trust. Our next session is on transforming higher education, quality, access and employability, and we'll discuss strategic reforms and initiatives to transform higher education, focusing on improving quality, expanding access and ensuring graduates' employability. I'd like to now invite onto the stage our panelists, Professor Saroj Sharma, the chairperson of the National Institute of Open Schooling, Ms. Ritika Chanda Paruk, the Director of Education at the British Council, India, Ms. Bhuvana Santhanam, CEO, Global Outreach, Prashanthi Balamandira Trust, and once again to moderate, we've got Sarah Zia.
Welcome to all once again, and welcome to our dear delegates. I will do a quick round of introduction. We have with us Professor Saroj Sharma, who is Chairperson, National Institute of Open Schooling. We have with us Ms. Ritika Chandra Paruk, Director, Education, British Council, India. And we have with us Ms. Bhuvana Santhanam, Director, Global Outreach, Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence. Welcome once again, and quickly I will do a deep dive into the panel. I will start with Ms. Bhuvana, because you have campuses in some of the most remote parts of the country. You work with rural India, you work with grassroots education. And while you have made a lot of strides, there is still a lot to do. So just to set the tone of the event, could you just share some introductory takeaways from what your experience of working in the grassroots has been?
Sure, thank you so much. So we've got about 26 campuses across 3 states in India, which is Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Telangana. We've got over 3,000 kids, boys and girls, all the way from school education all the way up to PhD. So from grade 6 all the way up to PhD. We're giving education absolutely free. So which means the child comes in a pair of clothes, that's all. And everything else is taken care of. Now 80% of all of these children are from below the poverty line. So how is it that we go and we sort of enroll children into our schools and colleges? Is we work on ground at the villages at absolute grassroots levels and we go door to door, and we do this every single year. And why do we do this? One of the key reasons we do this is because of the fact that while there's so much of progress as a country and education and everything is beautiful on one side, but on the other side, the reality is that even today, as a cultural taboo, girls are not sent to schools. So there are various reasons for it. We see early marriages. We see, the reason is because of, child labor. One of the key reasons, which I'm sure will be very surprising to you, is parents do not want to send a child to school or to college, which if it is not in their district. They don't even want to send the child to the next district. So if we are talking of an India where close to 70% is in the rural areas, what we need to be doing as a country is also look at what is happening at the grassroots level. Now, India, if you look at the numbers, it says that below 24 years, we've got about 250 million odd children, right? Between the age group of 15, 16 to about 24. Now, if you look at this, it's abysmal. If you look at the number of the gross enrollment ratio into higher education. Now, whether you take national surveys, you look at the reports by AIU, you will see that in India, just about 4 crores are enrolled into higher education. Now, 1%, okay, this is there, you can go and Google and see, 1% of women in rural areas are educated, which means have had a college education. Now, this is the kind of numbers that we are looking at, and what is it that we are doing, for example, is we've incentivized higher education. Apart from giving higher education free, what is it that we are going and giving is we are also giving them an incentive. So we are telling the parents, please don't get your children married immediately. Let them study for 2 more years, let them study for 3 more years. And then they'll be able to stand on their own feet. So, coming back, apart from giving education for free, we are also giving them a stipend, month on month, which is going to the parents. And what we are seeing is suddenly the parents are saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to save this money for my daughter's, education, or for her, marriage tomorrow. It's becoming an incentive, and because of that, we are seeing that children are coming to school or they are coming to college. And this is really changing lives, changing families and changing societies, because what happens is the neighbors are saying, okay, so my neighbor's daughter has gone to school, has now enrolled into college. Because enrolling into higher education, if we talk about higher education, I think the first step is we need to go a step back and look at school education, and I think that's where Professor Saroj Sharma also comes. We need to look at the current status where a lot of dropout is happening in school education. Though we give education for free, let me tell you, by the time the child finishes grade 10, 11, we have about 10 to 15% dropout in schools, even though everything is given. And the reason that we see is that they become either the only earning members in their family. This we're talking of stark, sort of grassroots level interventions, right? So they become the only earning members and they have to go back. So NEP talks about innovation, and one of the innovation that we are doing is, fine, the children have to quit their grade 10 or their grade 11 and they have to go. What is it that we are doing? We are giving them, sort of a vocational training, plumbing, any sort of, other training like, become an electrician or whatever it is, driving, gardening, we've got about, 15 to 20 sort of vocational training, so that we believe that at least when the child goes back, they have some sort of a skill in hand and not just their 10th or their, sort of their, their 11th grade education. It is a stark reality, but I think if we all come together and sort of the ethos that we in the institution follow is Samaj, Sarkar and Sanstha. This is educating children into values-based education, giving them that sort of an opportunity. And I think Malik ji also so beautifully spoke about opportunity. Give them an opportunity and they will excel, and all that they are looking for is that one opportunity: accessibility, availability. We are talking of technology, but technology in the villages, there's no connectivity, there's no network. So what devices and what technological advancements are we talking about? Through COVID, our children had to come down in the, who are in the remote parts, they had to walk 2 kilometers to come down to an area where they had network. They would then ask auto drivers, they would then ask, people there if they can share their internet, so that one device, 10 children used to sit around and study. And these devices were again given by us, because these are children of daily wage laborers. So when we speak about higher education or school education or the penetration, the accessibility or the availability, I think taking a step back and looking at the ground reality is extremely crucial.
I think this is a great point for Professor Saroj to intervene, because Ms. Bhavana has pointed out the range of obstacles that students are facing to access education at the school level, and then the obstacles that are at the higher education level. Again, given that the focus of our discussion is NEP, and that NIOS again has a long, glorious legacy and history of sort of working on these issues, how do you see NIOS sort of stepping in to deal with these obstacles or troubles that students may be facing?
Thank you, Sarah, and my namaskar to all the learned members who are present over here. Your question takes me from transition from school education to higher education, and also a journey of national education policy from Radhakrishnan Commission recommendation to present day. Right, in 1949, when Radhakrishnan Commission gave its recommendation, it was for higher education, establishing universities in India. And my previous speaker, Mr. Malik, has also elaborated the Macaulay system, how education was into one, I don't think it was much India-centric. And a lot of criticism we have been witnessing about this kind of education system, where literacy was at supreme and education was not a thing of discussion. Literacy, a person who can write or read can be a literate person, but is every literate person educated too? Education is modification of behavior, and after Radhakrishnan Commission, Kothari Commission came in 1964. In that commission, all the aspects of education were discussed, whether it was women education, it was technical education, science education, conventional and non-conventional, even vocational education, IITs, ITIs, all were discussed in Kothari Commission, and that is why it is called Indian Education Commission. After that, in 1986, new education policy, and after a long wait of 34 years, we are into implementation of the recommendation of National Education Policy 2020. The topic of your conference, I can say it is a conference, deals with access, equity, quality, skill development, and India-centric education, value education. Mr. Malik also discussed a lot about it. When our role comes, because we are one of 2 national boards in India, CBSE is in conventional mode and we are into open and distance mode. And we are world's largest open schooling system. There are 4,040,000 lakh students enrolled in NIOS today. So our mandate is reaching to unreached. It was a great discussion by Ms. Bhavana that bringing out the to mainstreaming the out-of-school children. This is one great mandate which is given in National Education Policy to NIOS. So we are into signing process of MOUs with different states. Recently we have signed MOU with Daman and also Government of Meghalaya. So there are 10 states which they have contacted us for such kind of MOU, because a large number of out-of-school children are still who are waiting for coming into mainstream. So So this is a great responsibility, and for the first time any education policy has given such kind of recommendation that they should be brought into mainstreaming. We have a very flexible approach. When a student get enrolled in NIOS, easy exit and easy entry is the one, and flexibility of curriculum. Even Ms. Bobina will say that Satya Sai University, Satya Sai Group has also many schools accredited to us. So because they are into flexible conditions, they can, homeschooling is a part, alternative education system, inclusion, this is one of main objective of NIOS. So we are taking care of such students. Mary Com, who is parliamentarian, she is our student. Many Shikhar Dhawan and many other players, they are also part of NIOS family. So we give flexibility to the students. So when you talk about mandate, so bringing out of school children into mainstream is one of our major objectives. 2 years back, Prime Minister has launched sign language. After New Zealand, NIOS is the only organization in India which has given sign language status of language like any other language, Sanskrit, Hindi, English. Student can opt for sign language as language. Earlier it was as medium, but it is a language, and UNESCO has awarded King Sejong Award for that. So inclusion is also one of our prime area. ASHA health workers, they are getting certification. PMG Disha, till now we have been able to certify around 1.8 crores digital literacy. All the Gram Panchayats of India are part of this PMG Disha program, and NIOS is into certification process. In recent few months back, we have signed MOU with all the defense wings for Agnipath schemes. Agnivir, 2 Agnivirs, we are certificating them. They are getting our curriculum, and also NIPIA is a special program which is made for Indian Army. Because we have flexible approach, easy entry, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary approach, and recently NCVT has given us status of awarding body. So we have 103 vocational courses. So NSQF compliance are also there. So we are awarding body. Now onwards, our student will not be going to NCVT or any other forum for NSQF compliance. They will be certificating with Skill India logo, NCVT logo, and also NIOS. And for many years, we were not having any demarcation between conventional courses and vocational courses. Any student who was having music or was taking maths as a subject. So credit framework is also there. 7 subjects, we provide certificate of 7 subjects. A student who is having 5 subjects from CBSE can opt 2 subjects from NIOS, so that he or she will be able to apply in many other courses, pilot and such other jobs. So this kind of flexibility is also there. So credit transfer is one of the aspects. We have MOU with DGT also. ITIs are also, students of ITIs are also applying to NIOS for getting certificate. So such kind of many initiatives we have taken, and yes, I believe that education is for service sector and it should be brought into the service sector. So NIOS is serving in that area, and again I will say that we have to achieve the goal of sustainable development of UNESCO also, that is SDG goals, and national education policy is in tune to these SDG goals. So Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, and Sa Vidyaya Vimuktaya. Education liberates. Literacy is a tool for being educated. I think this is the difference between literacy, being literate, and being educated, and that we have to take care of it. I think we should keep it always in our mind. Let's be educated, not only literate.
That's a great thought, and I just want to think, like, if you look at the agenda for today's session, the key word is access. And what Professor Saroj has described is the idea of inclusion, building on what Ms. Ruvana said. The other aspect to access is expansion of opportunities, a theme that Mr. Malik has also picked in the previous session. And with that note, I move to Ms. Ritika, and I try to understand that, you know, one of the reasons, and this is a testament to your presence on this panel today, that internationalization of higher education used to be an ancillary aspect at some point. But today, in a globalized world, internationalization is also a critical component of the NEP. So we are no longer talking of something that's outside the realm of mainstream Indian education, and we're talking about internationalization that just not as an element of exchange, but it also has an element of building on each other's strengths in a bilateral relationship. So I'd be grateful that for the, you know, for the convenience of our audience, if you could share your thoughts about how internationalization has evolved the landscape, and that evolution in the context of NEP, for instance, in the form of student exchanges, materializing into dual degrees, joint degrees, you know, those conversations.
Thank you very much, Sarah. So this last year has been a watershed moment for us, because for the first time, India became the largest sending country to UK, overtaking China in the number of students who have opted to study in the UK in various categories. And this is huge because it's not a decision that is easily taken. So in a sense, those who opt to study in the UK are at the opposite end of the spectrum of the students that Sri Sathya Sai Institution or NIO is to a degree dealing with in that sense. But we are acutely conscious that the aspiration for international education is not limited to those who have the means to do so. It's a universal aspiration, and we have research where we've seen that if they could afford it, a lot of young people would opt to have an international exposure, and that does not mean that they would have to travel overseas for it. They would like the connection. They're not looking at it for the qualification all of the time. They would like to understand how young people across the world, interact, because they feel, besides being a part of the nation, they're also a part of the youth global community as a whole, So young people find deep connections with people across the world, and today, even with the, lack of connection for some people, there is deep internet penetration, there's much exposure to the world, and our young people are surprisingly savvy about where they are, connected with other parts of the world. So one of the things that really, really excited us was when the NEP 2020 put so much focus on internationalization for the first time. So as British Council, we've been in India for 75 years, and we really celebrated this moment of seeing internationalization at the center stage. And we asked ourselves, what could we do to help? And what could we do to engage with the opportunity that was presented to us? So we got ourselves a little optimistic, and even before the actual regulations came into force for the joint dual degrees, we announced a grant call for universities to seed fund the starting of these joint dual degrees and other means of working together. And we learned, when we were doing this through our engagement with universities at both ends, that one of the reasons that young people, would benefit from this is because the world is changing very rapidly. New areas of employment are emerging as technology emerges, and what this does, the joint and dual degree gives, is it gives young people an opportunity to choose careers which have local demand but may not have that input in their nearest college or their nearest institution in that sense. So interestingly, you mentioned GIFT City being one of the places. For example, is looking at finance and fintech and things like aircraft leasing, which is a very niche, special thing, and it's often very difficult for higher education systems to respond to very niche and emerging areas, but they can do it quickly if they collaborate, in that sense. So collaboration is the key to success in many of the areas. We know that collaboration leads to excellence in research papers, for example. Research that is done in partnership with other countries are cited much more than individual national researchers. So international collaboration does contribute to better teaching in institutions and better quality research. So we are really committed to that. We've, over the last 3 years, given out 1.2 million worth of grants to about 107 institutions and 44 partnerships. And we don't dictate what areas they will choose to partner in, but sustainable, economy, circular economy, AI, computer sciences, social sciences research, these have been some areas in which universities have opted to offer these. It takes a long time for these courses to come into effect, and we hope that in the coming year, which will be the 3-year mark just gone by, we will see many of these courses on offer. The other thing that I wanted to mention was, though we see, 120,000 people went to the UK to study, but against that we've seen a small number coming from the UK to India. But we are very committed to having a mutual exchange both ways, because there has to be learning in both ways, and India has an immense amount to offer to the world. So we are committed also to supporting. The government of UK has a touring scheme through which people can opt to come and live and work here. But we are also looking at other ways to encourage young people to come and engage with the great, rich offerings from India as well. So it's been, a very rich journey. We would have a lot of opportunities for young people, and we're looking to see how we can help and expand that even more going ahead.
Here. Before I go for a second round, I want to do a quick check on audience interest for questions. Would the audience have questions for our panelists? This is an exciting panel of women. I think you should take advantage of their expertise. Yes, there is a question at that.
I am Colonel Prem Prakash, Director from Colonel Satsangi Kiran Memorial Public School, Chhatarpur, Delhi. I have 2 points. In the higher education, there is a big problem of the faculty across states, and the other is about vocational. We're talking about employability in this session, and we know about the employability problem and lack of skills, and we have huge problem in terms of shortages of the ITIs and polytechnics. And in the higher education, of course, people are getting enrolled and possibly taking exams, and they have degree, but they are not employable. So one, of course, the issue of faculty, the other issue of opportunities for the students and others to go to a polytechnic and ITIs, and across the world, even smaller nations have far too many. When you compare with China, there have been hundreds of and thousands of these ITIs and polytechnics. Well, in India, we hardly have 20,000 or 30,000 or so. Gradually, we are building more, but I think we are far behind. Thank you.
It is a pertinent question, but if we see the recent trends, many universities are into recruitment process, and recently Shiksha Mantri ji has quoted in one forum that in last 2 years, a very good number, I can't recall the exact number, but universities have recruited faculty members. In school education also, NIOS, NCRT, we have appointed, so many posts were vacant. With the initiative of Prime Minister Rozgar Mela, first time any Mela, any Rozgar Mela appointment letters have been distributed. Many universities have appointed, so I think this kind of scarcity of faculty members, we are addressing it in a very prompt manner. Your second question was on vocational education. This national education policy talks about integration of vocational courses with the conventional courses. In school education, NIOS was already doing. CBSE has also integrated vocational courses to conventional courses. As far as IIT, ITIs are concerned, I think in the starting of this discussion, the anchor, Ms. Khanna has quoted that few ITIs are also going abroad. We are going to establish IITs in foreign countries also. The 4-year integrated program and also undergraduate program talks about making vocational courses compulsory. For the first time, projects are made compulsory from class 6 onwards to university onward, right? So vocational, internship, project, dissertation, these are the part of education now. National Credit Framework, I am also part of National Credit Framework, and this is on the UGC website also, but we have asked the different stakeholders to provide their suggestion also for this National Credit Framework. I think it will be finalized in few months. So it talks about credit system, credit bank system. From class 1 to PhD level, credits are there, and with academic bank of credit, these credits will be reserved. At the same time, when you talk about vocational education, I think we have to be Atmanirbhar, and this is the prime agenda of Prime Minister also, with this concept of Atmanirbhar Bharat startups. I think things are not very gloomy. It is very clear that the index has been rising. So let's be very positive, and in very soon you will see that universities and schools will be having good quality faculty members, because capacity building is also one of the major objective of national education policy. It talks about capacity building in school education as well as at university level. So let's wait for a few months. Let's implement it very nicely with quality intervention, and things will be very fruitful and very positive.
Thank you, Professor Saroj. We have time for a quick question, one last question. Can someone please bring a mic to the center of the...
Good afternoon. I'm Seema Jairat, Principal DLF Public School. My question is to Professor Saroj Sharma. So, the NEP has already signaled, and it's happening, that there's going to be a change or a reduction largely of the curriculum, the content in CBSE schools. Mine is a CBSE school. So is the curriculum of NIOS also going to be reducing in a similar manner? We do have sometimes children who move from the CBSE to NIOS at certain points due to certain reasons. The second question is about the credit framework that you mentioned. Does that apply also to secondary school students? So that is my question. Thank you.
I will answer your second question first. Yes, National Credit Framework is from class 1 onwards. From next year, there will be 1200 hours in each class and 30 credits per semester. So it will be from class 1 to PhD level, and credits will be having a very flexible nature. If a student plays in a playground, if a student sits in the examination hall also, that 3 hours of that examination period are also a learning experience for the student. So that will be also counted in credits. So now there is no demarcation between conventional, co-curricular, curricular. Everything is part of curriculum. Playing in a playground is also part of curriculum. Going to the community, studying in home, that will be also part of this credit framework, because learning has no boundaries. So this is one aspect. And your first question was about NIOS. Yes, we have reduced. 30% syllabus has been reduced, and tutor mark assignment, we have a very open system, and after 2 years students go to the classroom, go to the examination. Like CBSE, we don't have 11th examination separate, 12th separate, because any student can come to NIOS at any, because lifelong learning in adult education is also our mandate, and students of different professional of any age can be student of NIOS. So for this purpose, looking into the very heavier curriculum, we have reduced it to 30%, and tutor mark assignment have been part of 11th class so that they can be passed to the 12th standard. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Saroj. Unfortunately, we've run out of time for more questions, but I will do a quick summary of the fact that we started by pointing out the problems that exclusion causes within the system, and then we sort of measures that we need to inclusion, and finally expansion. I think it's great to be celebratory of our achievements, but a forum like this also provides us an opportunity to be able to be cognizant of the challenges that lie ahead, so that we can plan about them and anticipate them in advance. With this, this session comes to end, and we call it a wrap. Thank you so much for being a lovely audience and for engaging questions. Thank you to all our lovely panelists. It was a pleasure chatting with you. Over to you, Rini.
With our wonderful panelists up here, we'll just quickly make the additions on the days here, and we'll move on to our third session, which is on revitalizing teacher education for the future, challenges and opportunities, and we examine how to improve student learning outcomes by empowering our teachers with professional development and the adoption of innovative teaching approaches to enhance their skills and knowledge. To now invite our panelists up onto the dais. Dr. Rajesh Hasija, Managing Director of the Indraprastha Group of Schools. Dr. Neeta Bali, Director of St. Anandram Jaipuria Schools. Ms. Aditi Misra, Director Principal of the DPS Sector 45 Gurgaon School. Ms. Rupa Chakrabarti, Director of Education at Sun City Schools, India. And to steer the discussion, we have with us the Chairperson of Education and Scholarships at DLF Foundation, Dr. Anita Mullah Bhatta.
It's an absolutely fabulous, enlightened panel in front of me. And I have been given the post of a moderator, which is like a chairman emeritus, which means you should be seen and not heard. So thank you, Rupali, for that. I will not be heard because these are such marvelous speakers, and I'm really looking forward to them saying some very interesting things. I just want to quickly set the tone and say that there's this very interesting book called Empty Space by Peter Brooks, and he directed the Mahabharata, if you remember. And he peppered his entire career with drama throughout. And he said that he created a thought experiment where he said that, what is it that makes theatre so powerful? And he said, let's first remove all the irreducible things we can. So we can get rid of the script, we can get rid of the costumes, we can get rid of the director, we can get rid of the props, we can even get rid of the stage and the building itself. What really is important is the actor and the people who view the actor. And he said that the entire energy should be focused around the processes that the actor has, the kind of engagement that he has with the audience, and his skills. For me, this is the greatest analogy of a classroom. And I think that this is what we're looking at, because the topic is about teacher empowerment, and I think that it's so imperative that we talk about the teacher. What is her engagement in the class? How does she function in her pedagogies? What kind of processes are important in this space? Because ultimately, it's the child is at the heartbeat of what we do, not the administrator, not the politicians, not the government people, but not even the principals really, but the teachers themselves. Where are they, and how do they engage? And I think this is what the conversation is about. And having said that, I turn to my colleague, Ms. Neeta Bali. Neeta, post-COVID, education has seen a 360-degree sort of turn on its head. So what are the changes that you think are impacting schools today, particularly in the area of teacher development?
Good morning, everyone. In fact, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Amita, for asking that question, though of course this question has been asked time and again. I think with the pandemic, the entire paradigm of teaching learning has changed so completely. Definitely, all of us have realized overnight, I think things changed, people adapted, and things moved on. So we all know that technology is here and technology is here to stay. So definitely, Amita, integration of technology into teaching learning is absolutely a non-negotiable. So having said that, I would say that some of us are privileged in the larger cities and we are able to reach out to students and we are able to educate people through technology, technology for education and technology in education. But having said that, of course, we all know, in fact there was this beautiful report by Azim Premji Foundation that says that about 60% of the learners in India definitely do not have access to technology. So what about those 60%? They don't have the wherewithal to be able to access education with the use of technology. So definitely that, I think, is a big challenge for the government, for the educators, and also in the urban areas there are teachers who have always used the chalk and talk method. Of course, they have undergone a complete change in their approach during the pandemic. But having said that, maybe the pace of change probably is not as desirable as it should be. The other thing is perhaps that we now need to move from a didactic style of teaching learning. We've all realized that teaching learning is no longer about placing a teacher on a pedestal and talking down to students in a condescending manner. I think now it is a collaborative process. So I would say that that's two things. And third, of course, Anita, needless to say that with pandemic, I think students have taken, all of us, I think, majority of us, even adults for that matter, have taken an emotional battery. So I think it's time to strengthen socio-emotional learning. So SEL, I think, occupies center stage to me now. So I think we need to train our teachers, particularly in that aspect also, so that students are able to assimilate what they need to when they're not grappling with the emotional trauma or the emotional challenges.
Thank you very much for that, Neeta. Thank you. I think that sort of, in a sense, wraps up a lot of interesting aspects of what I call the heart set. And teachers have this system where they're working in. Many of them are sort of inhibited. Many of them are restricted because of the kind of structures that we have around learning, which have been created. So I think, Aditi, I'd like to ask you that teacher empowerment is sort of integral to success of all aspects of schooling. What are the big shifts that you feel that can happen, particularly in the area of teacher development?
Thank you for the question, Amita. I think the majority of the audience is teachers and educators. So I would say that the first thing we need to do is re-look at the modules for teacher training and enhance CPD. Whatever way it is being delivered now needs a lot to be desired. So we need to review all of that. I think teachers should also become a co-learner with her children, because when we talk about tech especially, I mean, Neeta just mentioned that, let us accept that our children probably know more tech than we do. So if you become co-learners with them and you have that shared space of learning in the classroom, that will be a big shift. The second shift I envisage is parents becoming more involved instead of just sitting as passive players and demanding more and more from teachers, which we all encounter every day. Maybe parents should become partners in the teaching learning process in some way. So involve parents in policy making, involve them in some projects, involve them in excursions would be another big shift which would empower teachers, I feel. And last but not least is the management. The management must have clear-cut policies of what they need from teachers and also to be able to stand by them whenever the need arises. Thank you, Vida.
How succinctly you have said all these wonderful points. Thank you for that. I think today we're in a very febrile future, and that future is in crisis. Whether it is environment or it is learning, it is in a sort of a double whammy crisis. So how do we look at this crisis situation? Where do we take it from here? Because learning has an issue about identity, it's an issue about people, it's an issue about children. So on that I'd like to ask Rajesh, that, you know, what is this immediate unpredicted future that we have to look at? We have 1.5 billion people, and they have children of their own, these 1.5 billion people. I'm talking about India. And so, and it's supposed to be personalized because everybody wants to have their own agenda. So Rajesh, how do you think that we can work around this agenda of the children of these 1.5 billion people?
I think every teacher will be very excited, thrilled, when they look at 1.5 billion agendas or 1.5 billion dreams to be translated. Every dream has some novelty, some creativity, some inspiration. Navigating this dream would be a very challenging task, not an easy. But that's where you and I, as teachers, pitch in. I feel the role of teacher would change drastically. I normally believe the term teacher should be changed to Guru. Guru is Brahma, the creator, the one who creates a learning environment. Guru is the Vishnu who perceives things in facilitating the learning. Guru is Mahadev, who destroys negativity. If every Guru has few qualities, say like commitment like Bhishma Pitamaha, who was committed to Kuru Vansh, sacrifice everything for the Kuru Vansh. If the teacher is academically and technologically has that excellence like Guru Dronacharya, he becomes or she becomes an inspiration. If Guru is loving and caring like Lakshman, unconditional love offers to the children. And lastly, the most important, which I feel, there should be a connect between the teacher and taught, like Subhadra had with Abhimanyu. When Subhadra is awake, Abhimanyu learns. When Guru sleeps, Abhimanyu is killed in the Chakravyuha. If our teachers have these qualities, I'm sure translating these 1.5 billion dreams would be much easier.
That is absolutely fabulous. You've given us a mythological journey. I have just a quick aside here. NCPCR will have a tough time with Dronacharya. So, less said the better. So I just like to get into the fact that H.G. Wells, you know, the great celebrated writer, he said in Human History that you know, there's a race between education and catastrophe, and we have to really look at that. And teachers are the single continuum that we need to work around. So I want to ask you, Rupa, on that, that teachers today have to work around changes all the time, you know, constantly, whether it is, whatever changes are impacting schools. So I know Neeta has briefly talked about the technological changes. So how do you think they can work around the different aspects, whether it's technological or it's metaphorical? I leave it to you.
Thank you. I'm going to sing Breathless by Mahadevan. Okay, so please bear with me. Having said that, I'm going to go fast. I begin with a quote which I love, and that's Savati Sarthi Iti Sansaram. The world is ever evolving, and because it's evolving, and we all know that the only constant is change. If we do not change, like they say, it's not the strongest of the species, nor the brightest that survives, but the one that is responsive to change. So change is inevitable. I feel at the moment there are three things which are bothering us in the schools. One is the devolution of school management. In other words, interference from sometimes the government for running a school. The second one, I believe, is the curricula, you know, that is expected to be delivered in real time. In the sense, is my child good just now, not over a period of time? That's something that is very, very important to remember. The third is societal and social media, which is a huge pressure. So having said the problems quickly, I've thought of giving just one because of the Breathless song that I'm singing. So the first one, I feel, if we as a whole stand together, that the radical change, the changes which are told to us from time to time, we can really, be there to say this is right or this is wrong to the government sometimes. And not always, but there are times when we don't want schools to be shut, right? Then there are other decisions also. Then struggling with these outcome-based curriculum, we need to remember that the children are ahead of us. Wordsworth rightly said, the child is the father of man, and today it's being proven in the classroom. So we need to think beyond teaching and become learning as a teacher. And the last one, where it's societal and social media. Social media, I do not know what to do with it. But with the societal one, I can say, like Aditi Mishra said, that let's involve the parents, and that's what we do in our school. There is a parent involvement form which is on our website, and parents can be involved in it.
Thank you so much. Can you imagine the amount of fear that I am emitting amongst panelists? They become breathless. And Rupali, that is because of you. So I'm looking 24, 52. Okay. Now everybody's talking about, everybody's quoting Sanskrit. I'm feeling left out, right? So even I'm going to do it. It's important. It's important in today's world to talk Sanskrit. FOMO. I've got FOMO. So Charita Mudara Vikaratu Vasudheva Kutumbakam. I hope you got it. Right. So we already reached a tipping point where learning is concerned. And we have stripped imagination completely. So how do we look at imagination? How do we create dynamic futures in a classroom? On that, Nita, what is the framework? What is the framework that a teacher needs to create to engage children in the new age class? Thank you.
Again, a beautiful question, Amita. In fact, the teacher of today, as I think one of our panelists said, is a co-learner. So first, I think you need to create a safe space where students are able to express themselves without any inhibitions. That is most important. So freedom to say what they want to say, the freedom to express what they want to learn and how they want to learn it. So creating a safe space, I think, is very important. Second, I think it's important to have provocation in a classroom. Often, as an administrator and a principal of a school, I would always tell teachers that very significant that you're able to provide opportunities to children, and you can only do that through provocation. So, as I said when I was speaking, the last question that I answered to Yomita, as I said, you cannot have a didactic style of teaching learning with chalk and talk. So, we use provocation in the classroom to stimulate thinking. So that is important. Allowing provocation will inevitably lead to inquiry. So you would push children to inquire into various themes and then allow them to ferret out information. So teach them the researching skills. I think that's important. Allowing children to look for information. Sometimes, of course, to cull the information from the internet under controlled conditions, particularly for young children. So looking for information. I think that way you're empowering the children. Then, of course, most important, once they have learned, it's important also to get them to reflect on their learning. So what is it I have learned? How is it I have learned? And how useful is this learning for me? Next, of course, is creativity and the ability to analyze and apply what you've learned in a classroom outside, in the outside world, the real world. So I think that's where real-time learning happens, when children are able to do all that. So I think that's a shift we need to make in the classrooms.
Thank you. That was extremely interesting. When you talk about creativity, I think about some words as a child which I used to spout in class when I was fed up with the teacher. Can't think, brain dumb, inspiration won't come. Rotten ink, bad pen, amen. So, having said that, I just want to ask, Aditi, I've always believed that knowledge, skills, values, competencies have to be embedded in schoolrooms. keeping this in mind, how do you think you plan to manage the aspirations of teachers who are in your classroom? Because they have certain aspirations towards how they look at learning and to themselves.
Thank you again. So teachers, I think, are largely unheard in our country. It's a very sad thing, but the teachers don't really have a voice. But that is changing gradually. I think organizations like HT offer spaces for teachers. There are various Sahodaya groups that offer teachers opportunity to write, to do things which are different. I think as schools we must come together and understand what a teacher wants. It's high time they all got a voice. So it can be during a DM, it can be during a Teachers' Day event. Let teachers speak about where they see themselves, in the course of the journey in school. After 2 years, do they want to become a deputy head of the department? Do they want to be looking after functions? And I think as management, as part of the management, we must find ways of redistributing whatever we give out. I mean, besides just the salary which goes to everybody, what else do we give? We give opportunity to attend a function, to attend a conference, to attend a seminar, to go overseas with children. I think that should be redistributed because in many schools we find the same people getting opportunity again and again, and the larger majority of teachers just feels left out. So I think it's time we redistribute that and hear their voices. Don't give them something they don't want. Somebody who doesn't want to see a concept and push them out that I'm giving you opportunity, it's a wasted opportunity. So somebody who enjoys something, giving them that chance and giving them that feeling of that you've been chosen for something. I think that's some way to reward a good teacher, Amita, and make them feel, that they are also being heard and seen and valued.
That is absolutely fantastic, Aditi, the sensitivity with which you have brought these ideas forward. In fact, I think we need to look at teacher ideas, we need to catch their ideas and pollinate them. And that's what it is. And then we need to look at how the institutions look at the pollination of these ideas, because that's so very important for their future paths. And often about the teacher, I say that, I wonder if I ever knew the more elusive inner you, for the buttons of your mind were difficult to find, and perhaps our fingers far too clumsy. So, on that, I'd like to turn and ask Rajesh. One of the greatest strengths of schools, is that, are the teachers. So how do you mobilize, she's talked about teacher voice and agency, how do you mobilize and strategize teacher agency? And how do you take this forward?
I take it from Aditi when she said that teacher's voice is lost. There was a time when teacher used to sit next to the queen. Time is lost. Who is responsible? I'm not debating on this issue at present right now. But I would only say that if you want to mobilize and strategize teachers' energy, it should come from within. That means empowering of teacher and motivating the teacher to be that graceful, that empowered, that she can take over the classroom under her control. Let me take a short story. A struggling teacher was finding it difficult to handle the class. While coming out of the school, went to a pottery shop. She saw a beautiful display of creations by the potter. She picked up a cup and nodded, and suddenly this cup started to fly. The teacher was amazed. She looked so beautiful. See, I was never so beautiful. So I was like some clay. It is the potter who picked me, rolled me, patted me, spun me on the wheel, shaped me, colored me, and what you see final as it is. It is the responsibility of the teacher to identify the inner talent of every child and then shape it. And that is only possible when we as leaders empower our teachers to be at that level where identification is much easier. I would say, unfortunately, we have lost ourselves as history teacher, mathematics teacher and science teacher. We need to reach to that level where we become Arjun Guru Dronacharya. It's named by our disciple. So we need to empower.
Thank you. Your stories have always been extremely, aspirational and inspirational, inspirational. Thank you for that, Rajesh. You know, teachers need to be upgraded because they are very good learners. But how does one look at the kind of technological situation going on today, and how do we prevent them from becoming redundant? Is something because, you know, suddenly you may become a dinosaur because of the way that things are moving. So Rupa, on that I want to ask you that normally teachers are taught to work as individuals. Staff development helps them to learn and work together. What are the new ways that you feel you can develop team spirit amongst the teacher fraternity?
Thank you for asking. I think this question should be asked to people who are sitting here because it is imperative that all of us remember one very simple thing, that the old adage of the sage on the stage is over, right? As long as we were the sage on the stage, we were alone. But today, we have integrated subjects. With the NCF 2005, we started towards it, but with NEP 2020, it's clearly spelled out. So with integrated subjects, I know that me, who's a teacher of English, I will go to my class and I will teach English, but I'll also call the science teacher when I am talking about the voice where it is supposed to be enunciated from, etc. I will also take them out for sports, for various things that topics that I teach. I'll take them out to do some science project or even sing a song. So with this kind of integrated projects happening, definitely that silos has been taken care of. In our school, there are two things we do. As soon as a new teacher joins, she gets a back bundle with her welcome letter. So that immediately starts off the pairing and sharing. Of course, after that, we move on to various other things, including when we have presentations for every departmental meeting by a teacher, and it has to be everybody in the department. So then they are helped by their department, and when they do it whole school, they are helped by the whole department to make their presentation. So these are three ways I can quickly, in the short period of time, share with you that we ensure that they are functioning as a school, not as an individual.
I think that's so, brief is beautiful, I think, and you've done it so well, right? You brought in those points. So how does one look at engaging, you know, it's very easy to engage the human mind, but engaging the human heart and keeping that connected and making that bridge from the human heart and the human mind is what we're really looking at. And this is what I'm harking back to Neeta, because she brought up the whole social emotional conversation in her first question. Because, you know, we have to understand that consciously, and we have to, the awareness of whether it's science or art or music, we have to engage the human mind with the human heart. So Neeta, what kind of growth sets do you think that teachers should have to take them forward into the world that is evolving today?
In fact, the role of a teacher has changed completely. I know it sounds very cliche when we say the teacher today is a facilitator, but the truth is the teacher is a facilitator. So I think there has to be an attitudinal shift across the board. We do not look at the content that we teach as the be-all and end-all. In fact, content that we teach should be conduit for teaching skills. So in a classroom, Amita, I think we need to focus more on the skills that we are imparting. And in fact, for anybody to survive in today's world, I think the skills of creativity, the skills of effective communication. More than that, perhaps the skills of collaboration. Because you cannot survive in today's world unless you learn to work in synchronization with other people. So skills of collaboration, skills of problem solving, and more than anything else, I think what we need to impart in the classrooms, the skill sets that we need to impart in the classrooms are perhaps tenacity. The ability to be able to manage situations which are unforeseen. Particularly during pandemic, I think it's very obvious that you never know what's waiting for you in the future. So the ability to be able to hang in there, so to say, and to be able to manage situations that you are probably not able to foresee. And I think these are the skill sets that we need to bring into our classrooms. It's not that marks are not significant. Transcripts are very, very important, I'm sure, for any parent and any student. But at the end of the day, when we say we need to go beyond grades, we really need to go beyond grades. Because there are those who exhibit academic excellence, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to succeed in their careers or they're going to survive in today's world. So unless we equip our children, the learners, with these necessary skills, as I said, the critical thinking skills, the ability to analyze, the ability to solve problems, the ability to collaborate. So, and of course, most important, as I said, sheer, I would say, grit and tenacity. I think students are not going to get there.
Great, that's fantastic. And I think one could just add that today our classrooms are impacted by ecological literacy, by cultural literacy, by information literacy, by global literacy. And how do we look at that? How do we work around that? So on that, Aditi, I'd like to ask you that given your extensive work over the years and the leadership that you've shown, can you give an example of a quality, the innumerable qualities, that teachers need to inculcate to prepare students for the 21st century? I know there's several qualities, but what is most important to you?
You've given me the toughest question, Anita. Well, I think I agree with Nita completely that the 21st century skills we talk about, collaboration, creative thinking, critical thinking, all that is very important. But for me, I think there's a fifth C. Can I add two, not instead of one? So I want the teacher to inculcate, because you can't teach a skill, is compassion and courage. Very important. Not just for the 21st century, but for years and years and years to come. I think these two things are something which we seem to be losing, we seem to be neglecting, we seem to be not paying attention to. I think perhaps all of us are guilty of that. I don't want to point fingers, but until we are compassionate, we can't teach compassion. We can't inculcate compassion in children. Until we are courageous and we stand up and take a stand, we cannot teach our children to be courageous. So these are the two C's I would really, really want to emphasize on.
Why do I have this horrible feeling, Aditi, that you have seen my script? You know, it really puts me off, but then it just tells you what a great educator she is.
Maybe we just think alike.
Perhaps, perhaps. So compassion and creativity are two extremely important things. And I think this is where we have to look at our brain hygiene. How do we hygienate our brains? We brush our teeth every day. Why don't we brush our brains? I think we need to brush our brains daily to make us more compassionate. And that can only happen if we read what's happening around us and what society is doing around us. So I think it's so imperative that we create these compassion circuits that Aditi is talking about and bring them into the classroom so that our brain works in those circuitous manners towards compassion and creativity, which is a bridge. So on that I want to ask you, Rajesh, in what aspects of learning and awareness do you think a teacher needs to put in more effort in the classroom?
First, let me again take up the compassionate. Kauravas were not compassionate, so they lost the battle in Pandava because they were more compassionate. Let me refer to this one book, Diva Swapn by Gijubai. If you have not read it, every teacher must read that book. Gijubai belonged to an humble family, became an advocate. In 1920, he started a project school, experimental school, where he took two initiatives. One is the playway method, another is the project method. I quote him, Gijubai, he says, the responsibility of every teacher is to unfold the hidden and inborn development powers of every child which they possess. Unfortunately, as a teacher, we are more focused on covering the syllabi rather than uncovering or discovering the syllabi. I feel today the time has come when we should change the 3 R's, read, write and arithmetic. This connotation should add also relation to self, society and environment. It is only then Vasudha Kutumb or one earth, one family, and one goal would be achieved. Teachers.
Thank you very much, Rajesh. I think your 3 R's are about relationship, resilience, and reflection. I think these 3 R's are really interesting. Rupa, I turn to you, and because it's got 6 minutes and 24 seconds. Rupa, so get breathless. So the attitudes of students, have changed, but have teachers remained the same? Have they got caught up in some kind of a straitjacket?
Teachers, salute, because you proved without even a shadow of doubt during the pandemic that there were only 2 people who could save the world: the doctors and the teachers. So what I say is that, you know, the modern and the ancient, don't forget, whatever we have today, whether it be the zero, whether it be Greek learning, whether it be the Indian knowledge system, IKS, those came to us from the ancient, and today we are in the modern with technology. What we need is to take the best practices and make it a wholesome learning curriculum. We should not forget that these teachers have proven without doubt that the Guru still exists. So, all we need to do is just bridge it, the ancient and the modern.
That was brilliant. Thank you. 4 minutes, 53 seconds. I'm going to be giving 1 minute each and 1 minute for the unseen Chairman Emeritus. In 1 minute, only 1 minute, you will just leave behind one single thought, of which somebody can take away, because it's lots that they're going to take away. One thing that really is important to you in terms of teacher empowerment, one thought. We could start off with Aditi, because
Rupa's still breathless. So the one thought that I would have is, I think, give teachers voice, just that one thing. And anyone who says that teaching is something which should not be done or nobody wants to do it and tries to run you down or tries to run down schools, just shut them up.
Fantastic, you did it in 20 seconds. Rajesh, would you like to take it on? We got 4 minutes, 4 minutes.
In the present scenario, I fully agree there is so much to do as a teacher. The whole journey is about empowerment of teacher. Therefore, I would suggest 2 things. Number 1, with technology and artificial intelligence available, there are personal learning platforms available. I feel every teacher must join PLP, personal learning platform, which provides you resources, which provides you tailor-made methodology as per your classroom need. It provides you assessment. Therefore, this will be a great tool for you to empower and become a great teacher.
Thank you, Rajesh.
And second, I take it.
1 minute.
Rupa said it about the project, multidisciplinary project technique, interdisciplinary project technique. You must take it to become the most favorite teacher.
Thank you very much. With that, I now turn to Nita for her 1 minute.
This is what you're giving me? Okay, I'm looking at that. You're stressing me out. So having said that,
children feel in the classrooms.
I'm feeling likewise. But anyways, for me, I think the fact that teachers need to reskill themselves. Because of knowledge democracy, the gap between the learner and the teacher has been bridged. So I think we need to reinvent ourselves as teachers. So the need for, perpetually the need for reskilling, learning more, and we ensure that we are lifelong learners. For me, that's non-negotiable. Reskilling, training, and learning.
Thank you very much, Nita.
Thank you. I quote from CNN News, 51,000 teachers in US have had burnout problems and left the job of a teacher. I say today we call them facilitator, mentor, manager. In good old days we used to call them friend, philosopher and guide. What is missing between these 2 descriptions? the EQ, the emotional quotient. Let's bring back the EQ into education and nobody will be burnt out. That's what I would like to leave.
Thank you. What a wonderful panel this is. They really listen when there are students in your class. Right? So, now I'm a little bit, can I give your permission, Aditi, Rajesh? So I just want to quickly end this by saying that what a fabulous panel. Give them a big clap. Fabulous panel. All wonderful educators who I've known over the decades. So many changes they've made. Have a great Teachers' Day, but do remember the sadness that has come to us when we saw that awful video floating around. I just want to say a few lines from Arthur O'Shaughnessy when he said, "You are the music makers, you are the dreamers of dreams, wandering by sea breakers and sitting by gurgling streams. You are the movers and shakers where the sun beams." So God bless you all. Have a great Teachers' Day.
48 seconds, can I say something?
Can I say?
Yes, the lady first, right? I want to quote quickly from lines from her article today. She wrote today in Indian Express that it was our forefathers who decided not to choose the tree of life because it would give immortality. They chose the tree of knowledge so that they would live with a conscience. I think that is a beautiful thought. I would like.
Thank you very much. Fabulous thoughts that you've all shared with us. So we're now going to be joined by the Honorable Minister of State for Education, Government of India, Shri Subhash Sarkar, and we're quickly going to make the changes of the days so that he will join us virtually. But he's standing by in his office to speak to all of you.
Namaskar, warm greetings to all the dignitaries and eminent speakers from various fields, distinguished guests, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. I must congratulate the Hindustan Times for organizing this education summit at a time when India's education landscape is undergoing a profound transformation through the implementation of National Education Policy 2020. The chosen time, the chosen theme is the policy paradigm charting the course for education reform in India. Aptly captures the essence of this gathering to engage in profound deliberations on our nation's educational policies. I am optimistic that in-depth discussion that took place here will pave the way for substantial education reforms in India. These reforms are poised to ensure equitable access, elevate the quality of learning and foster holistic development for every learner. I would like to share a slok, Yukti Yuktam Pragrihani At Valadapi Bichakshana Khera Visham Vastu Kim Nadipo Prakashayat. This verse underscores the wisdom of accepting valuable advice even from a child, just as a small lamp illuminates where the sun cannot reach. Knowledge knows no boundaries. Ladies and gentlemen, in an era marked by rapid technological advancements and complex global challenges, our government has meticulously crafted the National Education Policy 2020 through an unprecedented in-depth consultative process. I firmly believe that assessing students based on advanced skills analysis critical thinking and conceptual clarity will yield enhanced learning outcomes equally important. Presentation and communication skills, which must be nurtured from an early age. Hence, embracing a holistic approach to education is the core essence of National Education Policy 2020. This policy asserts in transformative curricula designed to holistically develop learners, equipping them with crucial 21st century skills, enhancing their critical thinking and prioritizing experiential learning. Yes, the policy also recognizes the language barrier as a significant challenge in education. It encourages the use of the mother tongue in education or regional languages. Again I am repeating, it encourages the use of the mother tongue or regional language as the medium of instruction at the foundational stage, facilitating better comprehension and learning outcomes. In the name of school education, we have worked towards establishing a 5+3+3+4 class system with a keen focus on early childhood care and education. If we think about this, previously it was started from class 1, and now before class 1 the child will get another 3 years. And what is the basis of this thought process? That is, now all over the world, all the pediatricians, they tell that 80% of brain growth develops within 8 years of age. So before 8 years, we have given 5 years. And I am recalling the story of Abhimanyu, that when he was in his mother's home, he listened to enter into the Chakravyuha, but how to come out, he could not listen. And sometimes some people say, it's a gossip, it's a story. Now, yes, we can understand, and it has been established properly within the womb, within the uterus. The baby can listen, baby loves, baby at that time also, baby have the emotion, sometimes loves, sometimes cries. And for that, nowadays pediatrician advises to the parent, even when baby could not talk, baby is sleeping, yes, we can talk with the baby, yes, you have to be a good human being, you have to do such and such good things. If we tell this, if we talk with different good story, it will influence his or her character building. Yes, early childhood care and education. To this aim, we have introduced Bal Batika classes for children aged 3+, 4+, and 5+ years, aimed at stimulating their cognitive, physical, and emotional growth. This initiative equipped children with linguistic and numerous competencies that are prerequisites for learning to read, write, and develop number sense through a play-based approach. We also introduced the Nipun Bharat scheme in 2021, that is after 2020. Before 1 year, we have already developed Nipun Bharat scheme, aimed at attaining the goals of foundational literacy and numeracy in the country as directed by NEP 2020. The scheme aims to achieve foundational literacy and numeracy by 2026-27 for all children in the country by grade 3. Furthermore, a noteworthy innovation emerges in the form of Vidya Pravesh, meticulously crafted by NCERT for grade 1 entrance. This program, spanning over 3 months with a 4-hour daily engagement, serves the dual purpose of familiarizing children with the school environment and fostering their overall well-being. A keystone of the NEP lies in its unwavering commitment to teacher education. This is very important. With this in mind, our focus has been on crafting teacher training programs that resonate with the demands of the 21st century. This initiative bears the promise of elevating teaching quality within schools while concurrently offering teachers ample opportunities for professional growth and career advancement. Dear all, higher education plays an undeniable role in shaping individuals and societies. Guided by the visionary leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi ji, India has embraced initiative to internationalize higher education. Collaboration with foreign universities through twinning degrees, dual degrees, and joint degree programs has been encouraged to enrich global connections. To facilitate these collaborations, the University Grants Commission has issued guidelines for academic collaboration between India and foreign educational institutes. And the numerous memoranda of understanding have been signed with various nations. Already, different memoranda of understanding, MOU, have already been signed with different foreign universities along with our Indian universities, fostering student exchange program and study abroad opportunities. I wish to underscore that aligned with the NEP 2020, our Honorable Prime Minister's vision for Atmanirbhar Bharat is finding resonance. Initiatives like the Anushandhan National Research Foundation, this is very important, are revitalizing the research landscape and positioning institutes as global centers of excellence. Nowadays, India's score in the world ranking, it is growing fastly, very fastly. The core of the ANRF's mission is to foster research and innovation across diverse disciplines. Other government schemes like Imprint. Imprint is impacting research in technology. UAI, that is Uchatara Avishkar Yojana. And the FAST, F-A-I-S-T, that is a training and research in frontier areas. GIAN, G-I-A-N, that is global initiative of academic network. SPARC, S-P-A-R-C, and that is the scheme for promotion of academic and research collaboration. STARS, there is a scheme for transformational and advanced research in science. And STRIDE, scheme for transdisciplinary research for India's developing economy, also provide invaluable support for research and innovation. I would like to add that the Government of India has various initiatives including E-Shodh Ganga, an open access repository of peace. This is very important. The thesis submitted to Indian educational institutions, the National Digital Library, providing free access to a variety of reference materials for subjects such as science and technology, humanities, medical sciences, legal studies, SWAYAM and SWAYAM NPTEL, online repositories of massive open online courses in various subjects. I am glad that this summit has curated a diverse array of sessions, each with a distinct focus. The topics covered span of a wide range, from literacy to empowerment to employability, from teacher education to technology for effective learning. I am hopeful that the discussion from these sessions will usher in a wave of fruitful and transformative changes within the educational sector and propel India toward a new era of development as envisioned by our Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji. Yes, the NEP 2020 aims to pave the way for transformational reforms in school and higher education system in the country. We are working towards building agile and continuous learning pathways and creating personalized learning that is simultaneously responsive to career aspirations and market needs. I would like to add that the National Education Policy 2020 is at the heart of our efforts towards strengthening institutional capacity to embed lifelong learning in the education and skill system also. To encapsulate the essence of our vision, I echo the words of our Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi. The new education policy will show the seeds for starting a new era and will give a new direction to 21st century India. Yes, the vision resonates with India's holistic approach to development known as the Panchakosha system, which encompasses the realms of the mind, intellect, soul, society and body. It underscores our nation's inclusive and multifaceted perspective enshrined within our constitution. In the end, I once again extend my hearty congratulations for successfully organizing this event, and to each one of you, I extend my profound blessings for your forthcoming endeavors. Thanking you all. Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
On behalf of Hindustan Times, thank you for your presence.